Hello and welcome to Jackson's Job. Today you will learn how to bake a zesty lemon cupcake. It's a tangy and tender cupcake with a cheerfully zippy frosting on top. The ingredients are not expensive and I recommend using fresh lemons if at all possible with this recipe. Let's get to baking. You will need a muffin tin. Line it with paper liners or grease and flour each tin if the pan isn't non-stick. Please preheat your oven to 325 degrees Fahrenheit or 160 degrees Celsius. The first thing you need to do is zest and juice a lemon. You want to wash it by running it under clean, cool water, not use soap. And then you just want to zest it until you see a pale yellow, not white. If you see white, it can become bitter. Then you just want to juice the lemon. If you roll it briefly before you juice it, it's easier to juice. You either need to use a juicer or you can squeeze it with your hand and use a sieve to catch all the seeds. Now we want to mix our dry ingredients. We need 1 1/4 cups of flour, that's 187 grams. And to that we're going to add in some baking soda, 1/2 teaspoon, 3 grams. 1/2 teaspoon of baking powder, 2 grams. And 1/4 teaspoon of salt, 2.5 grams. If you don't have baking soda, you can use 1 1/4 teaspoons of baking powder. If you don't have baking powder, you can use a whole teaspoon of baking soda. However, I do recommend the blend of the two. You want to mix this together briefly and set it aside. Now we have 2/3 of a cup of sugar, that's 133 grams, and we're going to add 1 teaspoon of the lemon zest, about 1 gram to the sugar. Leave a little bit behind for your frosting. Now you want to add in 1 tablespoon of lemon juice, 15 milliliters, and mix this together until it's well combined. Your house is about to start smelling amazing, I promise you that. Take your lemon juice and lemon zest, combine it, and set it aside. If you want, you can store it in the refrigerator until you are ready to make your frosting. Once you have your sugar mixture combined, you want to add 1/2 cup of butter or margarine that is softened, 113 grams. When you press onto it, it should give away really easy, but it shouldn't be greasy on your finger. You're going to blend this until it's nice and smooth like this. Add in 2 large eggs, 1 at a time. That's a total of 100 grams. Make sure you add them in 1 at a time and create a lot of air in between each one. This will really give a nice rise to your cupcakes. If you don't add them in 1 at a time and create a lot of air, you will end up with a very dense and tough cupcake. Now you want to add in about 1/3 of the flour mixture from earlier. If you have a sifter, now would be a good time to use it. If you don't have a sifter, it's okay. Just mix up your batter pretty good with a fork or a whisk. Blend it until it's just combined, and then you're going to add in 1/2 of your buttermilk. You're going to need a total of 1/2 cup of buttermilk, 120 milliliters. So right now you're just going to put in 1/4 cup of buttermilk or 60 milliliters. You really want to use buttermilk if possible. I do have a substitute that I'll include below, but the buttermilk will give a very flavorful and tender crumb to this cupcake, so I highly recommend you use buttermilk and not the substitute. However, if you don't have the access to buttermilk, you'll still get a really nice flavor. Then you're going to add another 1/3 of your flour and beat that in. Next, you're going to add in the remaining milk, and finally you're going to add the last 1/3 of the flour. Scrape down the sides as needed and do not overmix this batter. You want it to where it's just combined. I'm mixing this maybe about 10 to 15 seconds in between each addition. At the end, scrape down the sides and beat it for about 30 seconds to a minute, but no longer than that. This is a really thick batter and it's really easy to divide into your muffin tin. You can use a cookie scoop or just 2 spoons like I'm going to do here. You scoop it up with 1 spoon and then you just scoot it into the tin with the other. You need about 2.5 to 3 tablespoons of batter, depending on how soft your butter was. You want to bake these 18 to 22 minutes or until a toothpick inserted in the middle comes out clean. Now the thing about toothpicks, they tell you when a cake is done, they don't tell you when it's overdone. The center temperature will read between 200 and 210 degrees Fahrenheit or 93 to 99 degrees Celsius. Let them cool 5 to 10 minutes after removing it from the oven, and then finish cooling on a wire rack. Create space in between each cupcake because if you don't, they will take forever to cool and then they can trap moisture on those cupcake liners. Let's make our frosting. We want 1/2 cup of softened butter, 113 grams. You want to mix it until it's nice and smooth and creamy, and then you're just going to add in 2 cups of powdered sugar, 250 grams. Again, you want to add this a spoonful at a time so you get a really nice soft texture and you prevent the grittiness that you can get in some American buttercreams. If you need to, scrape down the sides as you go. Once you get all the powdered sugar in, you're going to add in your lemon juice and lemon zest from earlier. 1 to 2 tablespoons of lemon juice, and that's 15 to 30 milliliters. I really like the taste of lemon, so I'm going to use every single bit of this. It's going to be a very smooth, pipeable batter. Place it into a piping bag. I'm using a 1M tip. If you don't have a piping bag, you can spread it on with the back of a spoon or a butter knife. It's really delicious no matter how you put it on your cupcake. You want to frost these when they're completely cool. If you don't, the icing will just slide off and go right onto your counter. You don't want that to happen. This is really delicious frosting. And then you just pipe this in a swirl pattern. Look how pretty this is. This 1M tip is worth its weight in gold. You don't have to learn how to decorate anything beyond this. You can make so many pretty things with just this one tip. That's my tip. Let's look at this. Isn't this a beautiful cupcake? That soft frosting is just divine already. I can smell the lemon from here. I wonder if you can. Look at this cupcake. It is really soft and tender. This is really a dream to eat. I hope you enjoyed this recipe. Thank you for watching, and as always, happy baking.